Hello and welcome to the Tri Talking Sport podcast, hosted by me, Joanne Murphy. Whether you are an athlete, adventurer, endurance enthusiast, or simply have an interest in sport, you have come to the right place for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, and as always, plenty of entertainment. It's been a while since the last episode, but I can tell you it is great to be back. Now, it wasn't a planned break. In fact, I thought I'd actually get an episode out last month, but life and adventures got in the way, so the podcast was put on the back burner. But it was time to release an episode, and so here we are in the first week of June with a super chat with an Irish rising star, Aisling Wyer, who you'll get to meet in just a few minutes. Since we released the last episode, I've been on some incredible announcing adventures and even managed to take part in a few events myself, which has been a big boost and bonus to keep my own training ticking over in between a very busy schedule. I travelled to South Africa for the very first time in March and got to spend a whirlwind 3 weeks in and around Cape Town, conquering the Cape Town cycle tour the day after I arrived in South Africa, and what an adventure and fun event that was. Then I got to chill for a week or so with super host and tour guide Paul Kay, who ensured we had lots of fun before working the Absa Cape Epic 8-stage mountain bike race, which was superb. It was such an honour to be invited to the event as the first female to ever work the finish line of this iconic race. It was an incredible trip and opportunity. I'm already excited to go back to South Africa for plenty more adventures. After South Africa, it was off to Croatia for the Istria 100 by UTMB. This was my first time at a trail race and indeed a UTMB race. I had no responsibilities on the microphone. I was there as an observer, advisor and athlete. Yep, I got to take part in my first ever trail race, the half marathon. And can I tell you I loved it? Yes, I did. I was fortunate to be able to embrace and enjoy the full UTMB experience as a participant. It was so much fun and so different to any other running event I've ever completed. You will be able to check out my race report on both the Cape Town Cycle Tour and the half marathon in Istria on the Tri Talking Sport website in the coming weeks. They are in my drafts folder. They just need to be published. I think I need more hours in the day. Needless to say, I would highly recommend them both, and I think I would like to go back to both of them. I might even step up to the marathon distance at Istria if the opportunity arises. Then, from the trail running adventures, it was back on the microphone for 5 days of island hopping in the Kvarner region of Croatia for the Four Islands Epic MTB race, part of the Global Epic Series. Another super event in a beautiful destination. And this year we got to travel to a remote island in the region as part of the 5 days of racing. Stunning and unspoiled. We were really treated this year with not just great weather, but also exciting racing in stunning locations. From there, it was time for a short break with the family, an 8-day adventure in Italy with my mum and sister, soaking up the sun and good vibes in Sorrento before enjoying a traverse through history and stunning sights in Rome. First time to visit both locations, and Rome absolutely blew me away. A bucket list destination. Trust me, if you haven't been there, put it on your travel list. Then it was back to work, and this time I headed to Austria, to the Mozart 100 by UTMB. Again, another opportunity to visit a new destination and embrace a new race. And I can tell you that Fuschl am See, which is about 20 kilometres outside of Salzburg, is a stunning destination for a race. The event hub was located on the most beautiful lake. I was singing, walking to and from work every day. The songs from The Sound of Music going around in my head on repeat. It is no wonder the musical genius Mozart composed so many stunning songs surrounded by the beauty of the mountains and the sound of nature. My role at this race was similar to that at the race in Croatia, but no racing this time. I did, however, manage to get some running done in both Vienna and Fuschl, keeping the legs ticking over with my training. Back home, in between the adventures abroad, I was on the microphone for Gymnastics Ireland's Exchange Conference and National Series events in May and hosted the first episode of their new podcast, Gymnastics Ireland Spotlight. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. I also hosted the Outscape Northern Ireland Conference in March, and last month hosted the BPW Galway Summer Lunch celebrating 40 years of the Business and Professional Women's Club in Galway. In looking back at this lineup of adventures and of work, it is no surprise the podcast didn't get much love the past few months, but it really has been pretty busy and a fun start to the first half of the year. The second half is probably even more hectic over the coming weeks. I'm off to Ironman 70.3 Rapperswil this week in Switzerland, then off to the Zugspitze by UTMB in Germany towards the end of this month, before heading to the Andorra Epic and Ironman 70.3 Swansea in early July. I can't believe I'm already talking about the July events. The year is flying. As I mentioned, I have been able to keep some level of training ticking over to, in particular, my running, embracing the opportunity to explore whilst on my travels. And anytime I've been home, I've turned up to the Galway Tri Club long run session on a Saturday. Usually it's a nice steady 10k. This past weekend, we ended up going slightly longer, but also ended up on a very cool adventure through the city on a route I'd never been on before. We had great fun despite the howling wind and the rain showers. Then we bounced around in Galway Bay for a bit before a much needed hot coffee and breakfast. I've been on the bike a handful of times, literally a handful of times, since the cycle tour in March, and I've taken a notion as I do that I will tackle the Tribesman Triathlon again this year, taking place on Sunday, June 14th in Galway. I did my first brick session of the year on Thursday, and I was back in the pool and the sea this weekend. In fact, I've done more swimming in 3 days than I have done in the past 3 months, but thankfully I can still remember how to swim. I just need to get used to the cold water. But do we ever really get used to the cold water? Anyway, I'm on the start list and looking forward to a super day out. No expectations, no target, just finish it and enjoy it. So a couple of quick ones before we get into the interview. A huge thank you to Emma Porter, who has kept the website stocked with news of Irish athletes excelling at home and abroad these past few years, and kept me on my toes along the way too. We've parted ways for now as I figure out the next chapter for the news side of the site, but Emma's brilliant work continues over at Make It Happen Multi-Sport Coaching. She's well worth a follow, so do check her out. I'm delighted to welcome Lisa Fahy, registered sports nutritionist from Elvita Nutrition, as a contributor to Tri Talking Sport. Check out her articles in the Performance Hub on the website. As a triathlete, swimmer, cyclist, swim coach, personal trainer and Pilates instructor, Lisa is well placed to understand the needs of endurance athletes when it comes to nutrition. We're also delighted to continue our partnership with Nuasan, who have amazing active body care products. The CBD muscle gel is a staple in my gear bag. Grab 15% off at nuasan.com with the code TTS15. And if you are in need of some precision fuel and hydration products, be sure to drop me a message for a discount code to unlock 15% off orders over €65 through Peak Sports Performance in Kilkenny. Now it is time to meet this month's guest. Aisling Wyer is an Irish triathlete and member of Naas Triathlon Club who has achieved impressive results at home and abroad, all whilst working full-time as a solicitor. She came to the sport relatively late, inspired by her mother, Nora, with a background in horse riding and tetrathlon. She most definitely wasn't a runner, was moved to tears on her first cycling outing along the Waterford Greenway, and openly admits she has spent most of her triathlon career battling self-belief as much as she has battled race courses. And yet, Aisling Wyer has quietly become one of the most competitive Irish age group athletes. She is a 2-time national sprint champion and has won multiple races in Ireland, including Tri Tyrone 70.3, Skerries Sprint, Camlough Sprint and Naas Duathlon in 2024. On the international stage, she won Ironman 70.3 Emilia-Romagna in 2024, qualifying for her first Ironman 70.3 World Championship. In 2025, she raced 11 times across 5 countries, finishing on the podium 9 times. She was 3rd overall female in the Triathlon Ireland National Series, rounding out her season with a 4th place in her age group at the Ironman 70.3 World Championship in Marbella. Her most recent success came last month when she crossed the finish line as the fastest female overall at Ironman 70.3 Mallorca, solidifying her position as a talented triathlete on the rise. Now she is setting her sights on the Ironman 70.3 World Championship in Nice, France this September, with the aim of going one better with her results than Marbella. In this conversation, we hear about her journey from reluctant runner to 2-time Ironman 70.3 champion, the role her mother has played every step of the way, how she manages training, injury and a demanding career without losing her love for the sport, her experience as a guide in paratriathlon and the mindset she has built around consistency and learning to believe in herself. Aisling is grounded and genuinely inspiring, not because of the results alone, but because of the attitude she brings to chasing them. This is a really lovely chat, and one that will have you motivated to go out and chase your own sporting and personal goals, whatever they may be. Now, go grab a cuppa and enjoy the show. Aisling Wyer, welcome to the Tri Talking Sport podcast. Delighted to have you on the show, fresh from that incredible win at the Ironman 70.3 Mallorca. We are enjoying or enduring a heatwave at the moment in Ireland. Tell me exactly where you are.
Well, I am currently sitting inside my kitchen for this lovely podcast, but the weather gods have been playing ball, but they weren't so much in Mallorca. So I'm glad that we finally have some sun and I'm actually topping up my tan now rather than in Spain, but that's okay.
Yeah, I believe there was some Irish style weather in Mallorca when you took on the course.
I know. I've actually got really unlucky. Everywhere I've gone in the last couple of trips, it's rained nearly the whole entire time. So I think it's me to blame. Sorry for everyone that was over there. It was my fault.
Yeah, normally when I turn up at a race for the very first time and the weather turns a little bit strange, they're like, "Oh, it's the Irish weather." But yeah, for those of you who are listening from around the world, we do actually have a heat wave in Ireland. There are yellow weather warnings for 30-degree heat. So this is a proper early heat wave in the country. But we're not going to talk more about the weather. We're going to talk more about Aisling and your incredible rise in the sport of triathlon. So to get us started, rather than talking straight away about Mallorca, Aisling, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your background. Who is Aisling Wyer? Where did she come from? And how did she end up in the sport of triathlon?
Very big question. Okay, let's go. So I come from a very sporty family, actually. My dad is a jockey and my mum has always been doing sport her whole entire life, and my brother owns his own gym. So we've always been kind of in that environment. I wasn't overly sporty when I was growing up. I did do a lot of horse riding. So that's kind of predominantly my background. And I was involved in a sport, tetrathlon. People know pentathlon because it's an Olympic sport, but it was that. So it was horse riding, swimming, and running and shooting. So it was everything bar the fencing. So I did a bit of that when I was in pony club, but outside of that, I wasn't overly sporty, had no hand-eye coordination at all. Tried to play one game of football and I spent the whole entire time pulling up my football socks. So quickly learned that was not for me. And yeah, I really enjoyed horse riding. And whenever they came to the running, mum used to be chasing me around the fields with an umbrella. So when I got into triathlon, eventually that was a big surprise that I was kind of getting a couple of results because that wasn't my background. But it was my mum that got me into triathlon then in around just before COVID, really. And then COVID kind of happened, but I took it a little bit more serious after COVID. But she was really the inspiration behind it all. And we've done a lot of races together, which is really, really cool that not a lot of people get to say that they have done. So yeah, just a kind of that's a small synopsis, I guess, how I kind of got here. And then in 2023, I started to get a coach, and from then it's been a little bit more competitive, but still trying to balance. You know, I do work full time as a lawyer, so a huge part of my journey has been ultimately trying to figure out how to balance that ambition of trying to be a high performing athlete. But the reality is that I work full time. I'm tied to a desk 9 to 5. So I got into triathlon because I loved the challenge of it. There's always something to work on. You're never really the master of anything. Even now, after some good results, I still feel like I'm learning constantly. And honestly, that's what really keeps me engaged. There's another level, whether that's technically, mentally, physically. Yeah, I'm just trying to build a sustainable relationship with the sport while balancing real life and a demanding career, I suppose.
Some would say that real life is our triathlon life now and everything else is just the other side of our lives.
Absolutely. I just say that my job is my hobby and triathlon is yeah, but anyway.
And so, how did you end up in the sport of triathlon? Your mum was involved in the sport. I know she's racing at the Tribesman in Galway, which is taking place on the 14th of June. So, how did she convince you to take up the sport? Obviously, you must have been a good swimmer doing tetrathlon. Where did the biking and the running come from then as well?
I suppose the swimming, yeah, I did community games and that when I was growing up. So I was in a swimming pool and luckily mum threw me in when I was a kid. So I've always had that advantage of being able to swim, although I did take a massive break when I went to college or throughout school and that. But so once you kind of go back, it's a lot. I see some of my friends learning a new skill, particularly learning swimming is incredibly humbling. Only recently I've gone back to entire basics with it and I've got myself a pair of fins trying to break down the fundamentals again. But as for cycling, I just got myself a bike and anyone can ride a bike, but it just takes a lot of time. Eventually, when I first got there, I remember going down the Waterford Greenway and just breaking into tears, thinking it was the hardest thing ever. So, you know, just a lot of time and patience, I suppose. And running has just been a very slow progress. But mum just kind of taught me just, I think a lot of people think that it has to be perfect. particularly like when you're speaking to women or my friends in the club, people think that you can only start when you're ready. So I would always say, don't wait until you're ready. So many people feel like they need to be already fit or fast or confident before joining a club or entering a race. But honestly, everyone starts somewhere. The biggest thing is just showing up and letting that confidence build over time. So don't compare. I'm guilty of it, particularly on Strava or Instagram, like comparing myself to other people. But really, if you're comparing your beginning with someone else's middle or someone else's end, you're never going to be anywhere. So you don't have to train perfectly to belong in the sport. And that's kind of what mum instilled in me. And I hope maybe I can share that message with other people.
I love that message about just basically not waiting, and that confidence comes. I think people just have to have the courage to maybe to start. And of course, when you start in triathlon, you coming from, all of the other sports as well as being able to swim, you were at a different level to those that maybe were walking in the door on the first day, maybe to Naas Tri Club as a beginner. But then when it comes to biking and running, you're going to be at a different level to other people as well. So there's so many different varieties of levels and abilities when you do start out in triathlon. So I like what you say there in terms of you don't have to be perfect or have it all lined up to get started. It's just the courage to start or the courage to try is what's important. In terms of joining a club, then of course you joined a Naas Tri Club, and changing outlook, changing perspective, giving lots of opportunities for you to actually excel in the sport.
Yeah, because you're just learning from other people constantly, and it's all about your environment. And if you see people, really enjoying it, you really want to be involved and enjoy it also. It doesn't matter if they're the most competitive person or they're just focusing on the social side. There's so much to gather from it. So for me, I joined purely I kind of moved to the area and I just wanted to meet people. So it's a great way to meet people. And then also, if you want to become competitive, you can learn, what are the hot tips. For me, even now, I still don't leave my shoes on my bike or do a flying mount or dismount or use the fanciest kit. I have a really nice bike now, but you just pick up those bits from other people in the club, and that's what's really nice. And you can be inspired by other athletes, friends, or that, even watching professionals on TV. There's powerful female role models now in the sport that are changing those perceptions of people. I'm really inspired by the likes of like Kat Matthews or Solvig. They're powerful athletes. They're not people that you would see maybe a couple of years ago. So you can be really inspired by athletes like them because they're strong, powerful women, physically, mentally, emotionally. They're very raw in their interviews. So it's important when women see different versions of what strength looks like in sport. You can be ambitious, you can be competitive, while also having balance and being human. And I think you can see that in professional sport, and you can also see it in Naas Triathlon Club. If likes of me and a couple of others in the club are really, really competitive and driven. But then there's the other side of it as well. And I love seeing women own their power in sport, whether that's again being competitive or whether it's being balanced and social. I think there's so many different sides of it.
And the Tri Club really opens up a social circle as well, because you're training with different people all the time, and there's great camaraderie. And I'm sure at Naas Tri Club, no more than there is at Galway Tri Club, there's the social aspect of the training. So yes, you get your training done, but there's usually a coffee spin, or there's coffee and a dip after a Saturday run, or we had breakfast club today. Now they swim on a Wednesday. I don't swim because I'm usually never here, but I generally will end up going to coffee club or breakfast club, and that's all part of the social aspect. So you're still picking up the tips and tricks, but then you're getting that social interaction as well. Your rise in triathlon has been quite significant from somebody who only started in 2019. COVID hit us in 2020 and ran all the way through to, towards the end of 2021. So how did you tackle the sport initially, getting started, and then seeing your progression so quickly?
I would say for me, it's been a very slow progress of just building momentum over time, getting some consistency behind me. So yes, I've absolutely had some fantastic results, but they just didn't happen overnight, unfortunately. It's consistency, not perfection. So there are some days in reality where I have to appreciate that I have had a busy day in work, I've got home late, and maybe a session isn't the best thing for me to do right now. So it's just really learning myself. And I think people often think mental strength or strength or results come from grinding through everything no matter what. But for me, it's become more about being adaptable, being honest about my lifestyle, and knowing when to push, when to recover. And that, yes, if you have a fantastic result, your self worth isn't tied to that result or that session, or even if you miss a workout that week. I'm probably a lot stronger now and a lot more competitive now because I'm probably less extreme than I used to be. So yeah, winning Mallorca and together with some other results that I've had definitely was a huge moment for me. Mallorca in particular was one of those days where everything came together and I really allowed myself to appreciate the work that went into it. But even what's funny is that after a race like that, you still immediately see all the things that you want to improve. So I think learning that the beauty of triathlon is that you never really fully arrive. There's always things that you want to do, even after winning something like that, which is beyond what I ever thought at the very beginning of my triathlon career that would happen to me.
When did you realize that you might actually be good at triathlon? Like, what was the changing point or the turning point over the past couple of years where you suddenly went, do you know what? I can be, and I am really good at this sport.
Very funny because I actually have a little tattoo on my arm that says "you can," and my mum has the same tattoo because she's always instilled those two words ever since I was small. You can. So, I'm one of those people that has very little self-belief. Even on the start line for Mallorca, I didn't believe that I'd done enough work or didn't believe in myself. And I don't respond when other people I know some people, they enjoy people telling them, you're not good enough, saying that we would have a small network of friends in the club that would be, trying to rile each other up. But if someone tells me something negative about me, I'll believe that myself, where I need people to lift me up and then I'll feel like I can believe in myself. So it's just, I do struggle with that mindset part. And I think that's a lot to do with the sport. But for me, when I kind of saw the results over a little bit of time, that's when I started to realize maybe I can be something in this sport or do something good. And that maybe came in 2024 after a bit of success. And then I did win a 70.3 in Italy, which again was just all I wanted to do was try and qualify for the World Championships. And that just involved, maybe getting a podium in my age group. So it's really interesting what the body can do. I do have an ability when I step on the start line to switch into a different kind of person. Once the gun goes, I turn it on. But up until I kind of get into the water, it's just staying grounded and maybe just focusing on the process, and the results will come from that.
And everybody gets nervous on the start line of the race. Everyone is nervous. Spectators, athletes, even myself, I'd be nervous on the start line of the race as you start announcing the race or whatever. So how do you keep yourself in check so the nerves don't take hold and the competitive Aisling gets into the right mindset of, okay, let's go do this?
I really listen to a few close people that I have in my life that I really trust. And I try and block out the outside noise. And in particular for an Ironman event, yourself when you're on the start line, they blast all the tunes and Paul Kay goes into his inspirational talk about, what you're about to do. And I just let that kind of channel. And someone once said to me that nerves are energy, and that really echoed with me. And I just take a deep breath and try and reset and clear the mind and just focus on what's ahead of me, break everything into stages, focus on the process itself. So right now, my only thing is to get to that next buoy. It's not worried about the end result of getting first and breaking the tape. It's absolutely, I don't even think about that moment. Even for Mallorca, I didn't even think about that moment until I was literally on the red carpet, because I just don't allow my brain to go there. It's all about the next water station, taking the next gel, just breaking everything down into small parts. And I guess that's how I try and stay grounded and process driven.
And then the course in Mallorca, I don't know the course in Italy myself personally, but I've done Mallorca a few times. The swim is beautiful in the sea, and then the bike course is undulating and quite technical in parts and can be quite windy, and then the run is flat but hot. At what point during the race did you think like, oh wow, this could happen, I might be the first to cross the line?
It's very funny to think about that. I always feel like such a fraud. But I'm absolutely not, and I know that. I know that it just sounds a bit mad, but I had the lead motorbike with me the whole entire bike ride, so I knew that I was
Oh,
leading.
sorry, now
But
how cool was that?
it's very cool. Well, not so cool when when packs are going by you drafting and they're watching your every move to ensure that you're absolutely not drafting. But it was made for a very honest race. But no, it's very oh my God, it's insane. You just have to soak that up and realize how incredibly lucky we all are on the race course to be doing what we're doing, but in particular to be having an experience like that where you know that you're in the lead. It's just I can't even put it into words really. It's very exciting and I don't take any of it for granted. Of course, it's come from a lot of hard work, but yeah, just very, very grateful. So when I got off the bike, I had a fair idea, and then obviously the two bikes lead you out onto the run and saying leading female. So I had a couple of people giving me splits out in the course as well, but it's still you still have a half marathon to run when you get off the bike, so you just don't know how the body's going to respond. And again, just focusing on what I can control and controlling the mind. And that's the biggest thing for me because I know that the body can do it if the mind believes it can.
What was it like coming down the finish line?
Emotional. I am an emotional athlete. I'm an emotional person, but it happened in Italy, and maybe in Italy I was a little innocent or I'm not sure, but when it happens, when you kind of half believe, for Italy it was different because I didn't believe I could, but for Mallorca, I knew that I did before, and there's almost this pressure on you to maybe do it again, and I didn't want that to become a thing, and I know that can either make or break you. For it to happen again on a big stage, and when you're feeling good, and a lot had changed over the past year. I changed coaches. I battled a lot with injuries last year, and again, it's cropping up again this year. So it's just trying to manage all of that. My job has got a little bit busier, and you can make up a million excuses, but ultimately it did happen again, and the emotions just fed through. And yeah, it was just a really special day. Yeah, absolutely.
When you look back at breaking the tape at Ironman 70.3 Italy in 2024, and then you look at breaking the tape in Mallorca, how have you changed as an athlete in between those two finishes?
Oh, I think for me, motivation after Italy maybe ebbed and flows. So now it's maybe there's a target on my back, or the target that I place on my own back. And it's just trying to stay grounded in that and remembering your why. And everybody has their own why. And after, winning a 70.3 in anyone's life, you're like, oh, well, what's there to do after this? So I guess just trying to focus on exactly why I'm doing it. And hoping for a lot more success. I'm hoping this is only the beginning. So for me, motivation has kind of ebbed and flowed. I have to remember that not every season has to be about chasing a PB. Realistically, for that to happen again is a dream, but that can't be what I'm expecting from myself, because there's always going to be, you can't control anyone else. I can only control myself. So sometimes the answer for me over the past year, I've taken a lot to kind of change up my environment, train with different people, and trying new race formats, or focusing on different techniques, or reconnecting on why I kind of started in the first place, because to have another special day like that is rare. And I think the pressure or the overstructure can sometimes remove the joy from sport. So I've allowed myself to evolve as an athlete. That's probably a short way of answering your question.
It's good. And between Ironman 70.3 Italy and Ironman 70.3 Mallorca, you also raced at the Ironman 70.3 World Championship in Marbella, which was the goal going into Ironman 70.3 Italy back in 2024. So talk to me about what that experience was like, because that again was a sea swim. That bike course was really technical, very hilly. And then the run course is flat-ish. But I mean, there's nothing really flat about the Costa del Sol, even though it's, on the promenade and that, there was still a bit of elevation in it. So talk to us about that race and how that all unfolded.
It was another really special day. And for everything to go right on one day that you've been focusing on all year I was very nervous on the start line. Let me just say that I actually went over with my mum and she helped me kind of stay in my own head for the week because it's impossible not to get carried away. You're walking down the street or going on your pre-race kind of shakeout run and you're seeing all the professionals around you. And it's just an incredible experience. If anybody, even whether you're a spectator or a fan of the sport, just go over and just soak it up. It's really incredible. But for race day, I really, really enjoyed it. The sea swim was fairly choppy for us, and it was really windy out in the bike course. But I got on in the swim. I started to feel very nauseous and kind of seasick from the sea, and I looked down at my time, and I was a little bit disappointed with the swim that I put in because I've been working really hard. But I tried to channel that again and reset and refocus, and just got to work on the bike and picked out a couple of bodies, thankfully. And really hilly. I did a lot of low cadence work leading into that big block because I've been battling again with a bit of hamstring issues. So just trying to manage the load, and everything was just, again, we're racing from early season all the way into the middle of November. So it had been a really long year, just trying to just make everything go right on one day. So for the bike ride, I just tried to give it my all, no matter what it was. And yeah, just incredible. Again, you're out in the bike course and you see the professional women fly by you on the opposite side of the road. Like, not many people get to have that experience. So just tried to really enjoy it. And then when I came off the bike, absolutely dead. I tried to run strong and run well. And yeah, coming through the finish line, I had no idea where I was. But just absolutely loved it. And again, I will be rocking up to Nice for the World Championships in September this year. So that's the big focus and build towards that. I finished 4th last year. So naturally, I'd like to move up a little this year. But also, I'm just trying to really keep focusing on the process and keep improving bit by bit rather than obsessing over one race or one outcome, because I still feel like I'm trying to build as an athlete. I'm trying to remind myself that I'm trying to build as an athlete.
And is it hard to do that, Aisling? The World Championships again, you know what it's like racing at the World Championship level. Is it hard to stay focused on the process and not put all the eggs into one basket and put yourself under pressure to train maybe more than you should? Or if you miss a session, that you get guilty that you missed a session? Or is it hard to stay grounded and just stay with trusting your coach to know that what they're telling you to do and that what you know is good to do is the right thing to do?
Yeah, I do struggle a lot with that, in particular, learning to trust the key people in my life rather than listening too much to outside noise. And remembering again the why. The reason that I got into triathlon was not to go and race in Nice in September. Yes, that's an incredible opportunity I get, but that's ultimately not my why. So what I've tried to learn or tried to instill in myself is consistency over time matters so much more than obsessing over perfection, whether that's perfection for one particular race or one particular outcome. There's this idea sometimes that athletes have to execute every session perfectly, but that's not the reality. Like, some days, like I said, I get home from work late and training just doesn't happen, or some days I don't feel good in the water, and some days my body is just telling me that something is telling me to back off. So for me also, I struggle a lot with running injuries. So whether that's shin splints, now I'm battling a calf injury, and that's just taught me a lot about patience. So yeah, absolutely, consistency over perfection. And I love this saying as well, discipline over motivation. So just having a set structure, again, those key people in your life, and that's what really keeps me grounded.
And how do you balance then because you're almost training like a professional athlete, really. I mean, you're at the level now where you're hitting big results, and there's probably more of an expectation that you're placing on yourself to be better every single time than anybody else is placing on you. Like, the pressure to perform is probably higher that you're placing on yourself than anybody else is putting on you. But then you also have to perform at work. How do you get the balance right so that you can come home from work refreshed, or that you're eating properly, that you're resting properly, that you're hitting the numbers with the training, but that you're also having a life outside of this double life that you're now living as a high performing age group athlete and a solicitor?
I think I actually need to keep on reminding myself that I'm absolutely not a professional. And I've learned over the past year or so that I have to start saying yes to more things. So whether that's taking a hit sometimes. I used to feel sometimes that it was a sacrifice, but somebody reminded me that this absolutely should not feel like a sacrifice. This is an opportunity. This is incredible. This is a choice. So this is the choice that I'm making because I absolutely love it. And I've created an environment for myself whereby my friends are triathletes and I've joined a local club. So my social time can be filled on a bike ride, for example, or going out for a run with friends. So I don't necessarily feel like it's taking away for anything in my life. I feel like it's adding to my life. But you picked up there on nutrition and that kind of thing. So one of the biggest thing I've worked on recently in terms of anything is placing a big emphasis on nutrition and sleep. So especially working full time, recovery for me is absolutely critical because there's only so much stress your body can absorb. So I think people would actually be surprised by how much I eat. I went on a training camp with Naas Tri actually relatively recently, and I remember going to the breakfast buffet and one of my friends turned around and they were like, "You're going up again?" And I said, "Absolutely, because food is fuel." So I've learned that underfeeding catches up with you eventually. So I'm not perfecting, whether that's managing my diary in terms of balancing work, friends, life, but just trying my best, and that's all we can do every single day. And the results will come hopefully from that.
And then if you were to choose between swim, bike or run, if there's a training session and you have to do all three of a day, which is the one that you're like, oh God, I really don't want to do that, or yay, let me get out and play on my bike? What of the three disciplines is your favorite and what is your least favorite?
I think that changes every single week, Joanne. I know that's such a crazy answer, but I think that's so nice about triathlon though, because it can keep you like one day I'll be really enjoying running, or another day I'll be really enjoying cycling. Like out in this weather at the minute with the heat wave, cycling is so lovely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I unfortunately don't live near the sea, but yeah, outdoor, yeah, it's just amazing. And you're just, yeah, so but during the winter it's probably the complete opposite. So it depends on the season and the day.
And then is there a particular session that you love to see turning up from your coach?
It's funny, I actually have a lot of walk run at the minute and I'm starting to enjoy those a lot because you get a lovely walking break where you can change and pick your new favorite song. No, I love a bit of intensity, I will say. And yeah, like I used to be sometimes afraid of sessions, but now I just kind of click into them right before I have to do them, and that kind of helps me. So I'm not overthinking it all day or worried about what's to come. But no, I think that the main thing that everybody should try and do is just find something they enjoy, because then you'll actually stick to it. If you feel like you're dreading something, you're probably not going to do it for far too long. So I'm trying to make this a lifestyle, and I really do enjoy it. And I think that's what comes through, and that's what brings the consistency, because I look forward to training.
And then closer to home, you've done quite well in the national series. You've done quite well at local races as well. And you've also been on the paratri team. So how did that all come about?
I actually got asked to help out with paratriathlon as a result of some of my local races, which is really, really cool. So it's absolutely one of the most meaningful experiences that I've had through sport. So I was involved in guiding a visually impaired athlete in paratriathlon. I feel like we spend so much of our time focus on our own performance in triathlon. So whether that's our own splits, our own race performance, goals, but guiding completely shifts your perspective, because suddenly the purpose of your performance is to help someone else achieve theirs, and you're there to help someone participate in sport that they otherwise obviously wouldn't have been able to do independently without a guide. So that for me created a completely new kind of responsibility, if I can say that. So there's obviously an enormous amount of trust involved. For anyone that doesn't know, you're swimming tethered together using a rope. You're then riding on a tandem bike. I would be on front and Chloe was on the back. So you're riding centimetres apart on a bike, and then you have to run in sync, tethered together again with a rope. So every decision I make ultimately affected another person's, well, not only race experience, but also their safety, I guess. So it made me appreciate sport in a much deeper way. And even being around para athletes, it's incredibly inspiring. You're racing alongside athletes with no legs, no arms, athletes in wheelchairs. They've had to overcome unbelievable challenges in their own life. And yet the mindset, the professionalism in sport, a huge amount of competitiveness, resilience, like everything is just so inspiring. So it really puts things into perspective when I catch myself complaining about a bad session or this calf injury at the minute. Like these athletes just essentially get on with it. They adapt and perform at an unbelievably high level. And ultimately, it became difficult for me to continue just because of the logistics around work and travel, limited annual leave. So guiding is a huge commitment and it has to be given the time and energy it deserves. But I genuinely recommend anyone in sport to experience guiding if they got the opportunity. I think sport in itself has a huge ability to change people's lives. I know that sounds like a big dramatic statement, but not only high performing athletes, like club members, beginners, people going through difficult periods in life, and para sport, it really did drill that home for me. So it was an unbelievable experience.
Yes, I would 100% agree with you in terms of the power of sport, not only just to give people the opportunity to achieve goals, but also from a social perspective, but also to bring people together. Sport has the power to bring communities together, to provide opportunities for people, and to give them an opportunity to excel in areas that maybe they hadn't ever thought about before. Sport can definitely change lives from grassroots right through to high performance. Are there thoughts in your head about maybe going pro at any point, or are you going to stick with racing as an amateur and see how many more podiums you can get on the international stage?
I think the day job pays me a little bit too well, unfortunately. But no, I'm really enjoying trying to balance the two. I would love absolutely to give it a go, but I think for now I really am career focused, and I think trying to instill that I'm giving up my best, and if that's I'm averaging about 12 to 15 hours a week, and if that's what I can do at the minute, I have to make that work, and that's something that I've just had to try and to break down and just try and build on what I can at the minute. So never say never, but for now I think the day job unfortunately does pay me a little bit too much.
We might have to just get you a new sponsor. So if anybody's listening that wants to sponsor Ashley 3 times her salary so she can become a pro athlete, that would be super. And then Aisling, closer to home, you've mentioned your mum quite a bit. She's your biggest supporter. She travels around with you, but you also get to race with her as well. And how special is that? Because a lot of us don't get that opportunity. A lot of us are older getting into the sport, and our parents were older when we get into the sport, or indeed our parents have no interest in putting themselves through the torture that we call fun, that is triathlon.
Yeah, she's like our whole family's inspiration, really. She's good fun. She's in Naas Triathlon as well, so a lot of people would know her, but she's just one of those people that doesn't take life too seriously, and she just always says she's just training for life. So yeah, she just kind of brings it back to basics, and you can only do what you can only do, and that's a really important message. But yeah, no, it's so lovely. For Italy, we shared the race course together, a couple of years ago. We've done a couple of races since. We're aiming to race a Thai together this weekend, so we do a good bit, and she'll drive me mental, but in a great way. So we have good fun together. But
who gets more nervous before the race, you or your mum?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. I definitely get it from her. Yeah, I think we're both in it together.
Who's running around transition going, I forgot my left shoe, I forgot my swim cap? Who's on that boat? Is that you or your mum?
Oh my God, it would definitely be both of us. If you saw me in transition before the race, we're both frantic. We'll talk to you no problem after the race, but before the race it's probably a different story. Yeah.
And then how do you celebrate after the race when you're together?
We normally just chill out and get a takeaway, to be fair. We're very low key. We don't really well, it is very important to celebrate the small moments when they do come, and we do make the most out of it. But yeah, it depends. For a Thai, we'll probably have a nice takeaway and get a couple of drinks. Maybe we'll see.
You won't have too far to travel home after a Thai anyway. At least.
Oh, I know, it'd be lovely. Yeah,
you can probably sleep in your own bed on race day Saturday, isn't it? So you can probably sleep in your own bed on Friday night.
Oh yeah, so I actually do that for most races. I remember traveling up to Tyrone, and I would do that nearly in the morning of. I feel like I just sleep a lot better in my own bed before. Would you be the same? Or no, you're probably not the same after all your travel.
Well, I actually
sleep anywhere.
We had Tom Dolan on the podcast last year, the Irish sailor, and he had a small tip that he gave us, and that was to bring your own pillow. So no matter where you're going, bring your own pillow, so you know what the pillow smells like, you know what it feels like, and
Trying
he
to keep
was
your environment the same.
and he
Yeah.
was talking about needing to take a nap while he was racing in the Figaro, and he couldn't sleep, or he'd be on shore and he couldn't sleep. So he brought his own pillow. That was one of the things that Jerry Hussey said to him to do. And it changed the game for him because it was that comfort piece, and it made such a difference in terms of getting some nap. So I don't carry my own pillow.
Top tip.
Sometimes I wonder, should I? But a little bit of lavender on the pillow sometimes makes it smell the same way as it is. As it
I
is
love
at
it.
home. But yeah, it is lovely to sleep in your own bed. I have to say, with all the travel, I love coming home and getting into my own bed and into my own space, and then not
Mm.
living out of a suitcase. But I'm not complaining. I have one of the best jobs in the world, so I absolutely love it. The other thing I want to ask you, Aisling, is just in terms of, I suppose, for women in particular, we spoke earlier about you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to be perfectly fit. You don't have to know how to swim, bike, and run to take up triathlon. But for women in particular, we have a lot of challenges, a lot of barriers to maybe getting started in sport. If you think back to when you were younger, maybe even before you started triathlon, what advice would you give to people who are maybe looking to come to sport a little bit later in life? And when I say later in life, I'm talking like late 20s, early 30s, because when we're in school, we may play sport. When we're in our teenage years, we may do a little bit of sport. In college, we may or may not do something. But to go and try and take up a new sport in your mid 20s, 30s, and then obviously later life as well beyond, it can be very daunting. So, would you
Mm.
have any advice for somebody who's maybe listening to the show and thinking, God, maybe I could go out and do something myself today?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'd say is just don't wait because you're never going to feel ready. Even for me, the morning of Mallorca, I did not feel ready. So waiting for the right time never exists. I always feel, no matter that applies to so much of life, the right job, the right relationship, whatever, there's never a right time. So many people feel like they have to be already fit, fast, or able to swim before joining a club or entering a race. But honestly, everyone starts somewhere. So just showing up and taking that plunge, joining the club, talking to somebody in the club, asking a question, that's where, confidence comes after starting. And confidence will only come after starting because you'll never feel like it's the right time again. And again, the biggest thing is just showing up consistently maybe as well and letting that confidence build over time. Again, that same message is probably coming through this podcast in terms of consistency always comes to perfection.
Yeah.
So just starting, absolutely.
And
And
then
give
if
it
you think back to Aisling back in 2017, 2018, on the cusp of getting into the sport of triathlon, did you ever think that you would have had so much success in such a short time?
and that's exactly it. I would have never I always wonder like is there any other secret hidden talents that I have? Is it like I always joke, is it playing the guitar, being a singer? But absolutely it's not. But yeah, like you'll never know unless you start. And that's exactly it. Like if I didn't start, what if now? So just try, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. You can just stop.
And is Ironman 70.3 World Championship this year, is that the number one goal? Are there other races that you're planning? I know you mentioned you have a couple of niggles, a couple of injuries that you're minding at the moment, but in terms of your season, what does it look like? Oh, and obviously you have a tie as well at the weekend.
Yeah, so the big focus now is just building towards Nice ultimately and just trying to get a little bit more progress than I did in Marbella last year. We'll see. And I do have some really exciting races coming up over the season to keep me motivated. And I love racing in Ireland as well. Like it's the women's field in Ireland is so deep. Like in Mallorca, we had three out of the top five in Mallorca on the overall podium. So the overall top five, three of those women were from Ireland, which is really exciting. So yeah, just racing alongside really competitive and driven women this summer will be really fun.
Isn't it,
And
sorry now
I love
to cut
racing.
across you there before you tell us about your races, but isn't it
Yeah.
fantastic to consider that at one of
Mm.
the biggest Ironman 70.3 races in the world, three Irish women were in the top five, yourself as the winner, Sarah Diamond in second place, and Helen Perry in fifth place, rounding out the top five of the overall race for the women.
Yeah, I know. And I really think that deserves mentioning because it just goes to show how strong this little tiny island can be. And when you're rocking up at a start line and you're thinking, well, like I'm only ranked wherever, but you have to remember that these people are some of the best people in the world racing, which is so exciting. What a privilege that we get. And, you know, it's an opportunity to learn. I always view every single race as just another stepping stone and another race experience and another day of fun, and surrounded by really good people. And that's what's really lovely about triathlon. You're just surrounded by like-minded people from every avenue of life. And yeah, like racing alongside my mum and racing alongside women that are going to be on the overall podium of 70.3 races across the world. It's really cool.
Coming back to your races for the season ahead, what have you got?
Well, I have a thigh, and yeah, I to be honest, I haven't really firmed up a complete race series. It really does depend on lots to do with work and how this calf really holds up, to be honest. I don't want to be dramatic on that point, but everything is just trying to build towards Nice. And I do have hopefully middle distance in Tyrone as well, middle distance national championships. So all going well. Yeah, just some things to look forward to, but ultimately the big focus is now just building towards Nice.
And then when you step away from triathlon, you step away from real life of work, what does Aisling Wyer do to just chill out and have fun away from sport and away from work?
I'm loving the sauna and ice bath trend right now.
That still technically comes in under the triathlon work though, because it's like recovery.
Does it? Okay. No, I love like going out with friends and just keeping that balance, and people outside of sport. Like I do have a lot of friends that are completely so far removed from triathlon, and it's lovely to just remember to say yes to those things and meeting up and going for dinner, going for drinks, going for out. I'm 31 now, and you'd swear I've like 50 the way I carry out, but it's just because I just love sport and I love waking up fresh for sport. But it's important to still remember that you're still only 31 and go out and enjoy life and go travel, go experience life and just have fun. But yeah, I do just trying to bring back everything to just trying to stay grounded, I suppose.
And then when you look back at the success you've had in triathlon, what is the one standout moment or result that you're most proud of?
That's such a good question. It would be really tough. I was really proud of the way I kind of turned it around in Marbella, from starting out from not feeling like when I got out of the swim, maybe I felt a bit disappointed or kind of beaten in a way because I felt out of the race. But the fact that I could kind of turn it around and still make the most out of the race and try and channel that in positively, particularly in the lead up, it wasn't as straightforward. So maybe overcoming that, I was probably the most proud of finishing. Although obviously Mallorca was incredible and Italy was incredible, and I've had some really, really exciting and incredible experiences in sport, but maybe just the fact that I managed to turn it around, I was probably the most proud at the finish line, if that makes sense. Although it wasn't obviously breaking a tape or anything exciting like that, but it was just proving to myself that even when it doesn't 100% go to plan, it can still work out.
And that is fantastic advice to finish the podcast on. Aisling Wyer, thank you so much for being on the show. I may not see you over the next couple of weeks, depending on where you race, but I certainly will see you at the Ironman 70.3 World Championship. So the very best of luck to you over the coming weeks and months. And I look forward to seeing you in Nice and to seeing how your season unfolds.
Thank you so much, Joanne. It was a pleasure. Thanks for that.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can get in touch with any feedback or guest suggestions by emailing me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. If you would like to hear more great episodes of the podcast, be sure to check them out on our website or wherever you get your podcasts. There are so many to choose from, so dive right in. You can follow all of our activities and podcasts on Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram. If you have any feedback or guest suggestions, please email me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. I really would love to hear from you. Until next time, thanks for listening. Stay safe, keep smiling, and remember to look for fun and adventure in every day.